Bickering Book Reviews. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Becky.
And today we are reviewing Jennifer Armentrout's The Problem with Forever.
Jennifer L. Armentrout. You lost the L.
Jennifer L. Armentrout. It makes a difference.
It does. There might be another Jennifer Armentrout. We don't know.
I mean, true story.
I've never come across her, but there might be.
I mean, she has to distinguish herself. I mean, she's a really great author, so.
There's some good stuff there.
It's okay. All right, so this book is about Mallory, who, after getting severely burned, she was removed from an abusive foster home and then adopted by the burn doctor that helped her. And they have a really great relationship together with her adopted parents. She's dealing with a lot of the after effects of being in an abusive home, specifically the concept that you have to be silent in order to be safe. So she's kind of working to come through that and be able to talk to others because she has severe PTSD related to talking. She's
lots of anxiety.
PTSD serious. So she's trying to go to college the next year to become a doctor. But her adopted parents want her kind of to take a trial run at a public school for senior year. So she goes to a public school, and there it kind of really ramps up her anxieties. But while there, she comes across Ryder, who was her protector when they were both younger. And then he kind of just disappeared after she was removed from the home. So she doesn't really know what happened in between now and then.
Ryder's got his own issues.
And Ryder definitely has his own issues. So they just...
That's about it.
They work on their issues together. So that's what this book was about, and now I think we're ready to talk about it.
So for an issue book, I liked it. I liked the fact that she wasn't in your face, abrupt, these are the issues. I felt like she made it realistic.
I agree. So I absolutely love Dr. Phil. It's my guilty pleasure. I'm sorry, it is what it is. But anyway, so there was an episode on Dr. Phil about something very similar to this, but the people just came out of this abusive relationship, so it really didn't get kind of deep into their psychology or psyche, which thankfully they didn't, because that's a little invasive. But this book kind of works through it without actually harming somebody who really went through it, so it kind of works through those issues. So it was like a safe space to kind of see all that play out. And it was super compelling. I couldn't put this book down.
You were sucked in.
I loved this book.
You were telling me, I can't stop.
I couldn't. This is one of those books that, had I known before I started it, I would have waited until the weekend, because I was super mad. I was super mad that I had to go back to work. You're on break, and I'm into it. I'm like, no.
I've had that happen. I listened to it. I think all of the books of hers I've read, I've listened to, and I've done a lot of her books. She does a lot of really good audiobooks. I like the audiobooks, even though I really do think that a couple times the reader said Riker and not Ryder. I really do think that. Because when I first started listening to it, I'm like, is his name Ryder? Is it Riker? I personally felt that it took a little long to get to the point.
See, and I definitely didn't feel like that. I felt I could have read hundreds of more pages because I just thought it was that interesting.
I would read more. I don't want to read more at the beginning, but I would read more at the end about what happened to them. I want them, I liked the characters enough that I want them to succeed. So I want the book where they go to college and he gets to study art and she gets to be a social worker.
I know. Oh, that,
spoiler.
Oh. Just even seeing where it could go.
I would like a sequel, because I think that there's stuff that you could do a sequel, because I think even if they're together, is she doing a sequel?
I don't know, but she should.
She should. I'd read it. Please write a sequel. Or a novella.
Ooh. She's got some really good novellas, if you're talking about her other series,
I read the series about the people that were the descendants of the Greek gods at the boarding school. And no, I liked that, and there was a novella in that. That was pretty good.
But the Obsidian novellas, those were really good too.
I can't remember what the name of the other one was. The Ptolemy ones. They were good. I liked Mallory and I liked Ryder. I felt like they felt really realistic. I felt like they weren't after school special, whiny.
Yeah, no. It was real. It was really realistic.
There was something genuine about their brokenness too, which I liked.
And it fits so well together. Because you kind of fluctuate between do they feel that they have to be together because that's kind of where they started, and it didn't feel forced. It felt natural. It felt good. It worked.
Well, and I like the fact that they were foster siblings, but they were never in a sibling role.
Right, that could have gotten really weird.
And like the evilness of the foster parents, they were bad people, but they were believable bad people. It wasn't like, oh, this is like a Bond villain bad. It was like, you could see, and particularly in a city like Baltimore, where you have so many kids in the foster care system, you could see that them being overlooked and this happening going on.
And it wasn't like a villain that like never dies or they're psychotic,
right?
Or, like was just glossed over.
I mean, nobody comes back.
Yeah, it was all very believable.
Well, and a lot of the thing that's interesting is that while they are the protagonists, they're also kind of their own antagonists, because it's like the big issue. It's not the foster care. It's not the trying to get into college. It's everything broken within them is actually what's damaging them and making their lives more difficult.
And I think that's where the beauty of the writing came through too. Like just the way that she describes it is just so beautiful, and you can understand it very clearly, and it makes sense, and it feels so real.
And we were going to talk about, because she's got a really cool author trajectory. So I believe that she started as she wrote for Spencer Hill, which is a tiny little publisher who doesn't do a lot of big stuff, and she was like their big person, but she also does some self-published stuff. And I read on Huffington Press.
Which makes me nervous, but she's a good self-publisher.
She is a good self-publisher. Sometimes self-publishers, you're like, you really shouldn't have published for yourself, but she does a really good job. And I read somewhere that she wrote a book. She had this idea to write this book. She wrote it really, really fast, and I can't remember the name of it right now. And she self-published it because she's like, oh, a publisher might not want it. And there was like a huge bidding war, and it went to, I want to say, Simon and Schuster.
Yeah.
I know that her, the ones about the gargoyles are through, which I've listened to 2 of those too, Harley Quinn. So she writes for everybody.
Which is kind of awesome.
Which is kind of cool. And she definitely is a good transition from teen to new adult. A lot of her books are very new adult-y.
See, and this one is a good transition, I think. I don't think it was really new adult, but I think it was a good transition.
I could see a high schooler wanting to read it, but I could also see when like freshman year of college I would have read this.
Well, and if it does turn into a series, then it really will kind of transition from high school.
Well, because I kept waiting for there to be a second book that you get to. I love second books where you get to see what happened to the first characters, but they're like a little different. So they're actually about other people. And Ainsley deserves a book.
Yeah.
And Ainsley has her own. Ainsley's is having issues. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, she's having issues.
But her and Hector, that could have totally been a book.
Well, and like the thing is, we have read and reviewed other books very similar to that, and her story was better developed and just better in the snippets that we got from this book than the entire book that we read.
So if anybody knows who sees this, Jennifer Armentrout, please ask her to write a book about Ainsley and Hector.
I'm just saying though, like this would have been a great book, because sometimes authors will take it kind of like Gail Forman and twist it and have it told from the male perspective as opposed to just the female.
Right.
And it would work in this case too. And I kind of want to know about it. I kind of want to see it from his view.
But I would like to see Ryder, like if the second book was from Ryder's perspective. I don't necessarily need to see this story again from Ryder's perspective.
See, and I'd be okay with that, because there's so much background history that you don't get with him, that you just don't see, that I think could still come through from his perspective, even if you're talking about the same events.
So should we rate it?
We should rate it, because I'll just keep going on and on about how much I love this
She's
book.
waxing poetic. I give it 2 fairies. I thought it was very well developed. I thought it was well written. I liked the characters. I liked the issues. I just thought that it took a little long. It didn't quite get to unicorn. It was almost unicorn, but didn't quite get there for me.
See, and I'm going 2 unicorns because I was super grumpy when I had to put this down.
She was.
Like, I really liked this book. I continued to want to read it. I would have read more. It didn't feel like I was reading in place like with Sandra Clare, because those books just take forever and you don't move anywhere.
I really like those.
Not this book.
Anyway.
This book was awesome. So, it's good.
That's where we are.
So, adios.